Good morning, Jeremiah. Thank you for being so persistent about wanting to see the right answer. And I feel like it's so hard to explain on the email, some of them, especially the negative exponents. So, looks like you missed number 5. And on the test, it asks you to find the area. And I wasn't sure of your answer. I couldn't find it to be correct anyway. I did have to edit the test a little bit. So this is just a tiny little bit different, but we're finding the area of that circle when and I needed you to know that that was a diameter of 25 centimeters. Okay, so if we're finding the area is pi r to the second power. You were asked to use 3.14. Now, the radius, you're given the diameter. The radius is half of that. So you're actually going to be multiplying by 12 and a half. And I'm going to leave the rest of that to you, but that's all you're doing is multiplying those. It looks like you also missed number 8. You just made a little sign error on number 8. 10h minus 3h plus 7. Okay, so, and this is a very common mistake. This is 10h. This negative, you distribute this negative all the way through, so you actually have minus 3h minus 7, 7h minus 7. So you just made that little sign error there. Also 9. Now I'm going to have to clear out some space for 9 because 9 is one of those really out of left field expressions, and I don't even like that it's on this test, but I don't have any control. What I did was I used the department made test, and then just to hang on to some test security, I just made shadow problems from that test. So what you're seeing is sort of a look-alike if we were sitting in class together. So half of 6y minus 3. And then plus a third of 9y plus 4. All right. So we distribute the half. Half of 6 is 3. Half of negative 3 is negative 3 halves. I don't need that extra negative in there. 1/3 of 9 is 3. And then 1/3 of 4 is 4/3. Okay. Going to kind of move my things that are the same close together. I figure you can just look at my notes and then compare that to what you have, and you can figure out where your mistake was. So 6y. Now I need a common denominator. I'm going to use 6 because 2 and 3 will both divide into 6. So I'm going to go 2 times 3, 3 times 3. 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 2 is 8. And now that gives me 6y minus 1/6. So you had an answer that sort of looked right, but I think that, and always it's the fractions that cause the breakdown. This is a highly missed problem. I don't know if that makes you feel any better. All right, let's see what I got next. You also missed number 10. Number 10 says this. I'm going to evaluate when x is 5 and y is 4, and I'm evaluating that expression. So I'm evaluating this is 10. X cubed minus 3x squared plus 4y minus y squared. Now it says that x is 5 and y is 4. So everywhere I have an x, I'm going to insert a 5. And everywhere I have a y, I'm going to insert a 4. And then I just honor my order of operations. 5 to the third power is 125. So I go through and take care of my exponents first. I'll go ahead and multiply those guys. Okay, so that's what comes next. 125 minus 75 plus 16 minus 16. is going to be 50 minus 0, and I get 50 on that one. So it's just real, you've got to be really careful how you plug in, careful with your order of operations. So there's that one. You did really good down to number 17. On number 17 says x to the negative 3 over x to the negative 8. And I think I edited that one too. I think initially, so let's try this. I'm trying to remember. I think initially it said x to the negative 3, and you can double check and see what you wrote, y to the negative 8. So if this is what you had, a completed answer would have been this, because this is really a reciprocal. Now, here's what I'm reading on this paper, because again, I had to go through and I always make some kind of a little silly error somewhere. Okay, here we go. So this really means x to the positive 8 over x to the positive 3, and you're going to get x to the 5th. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. You missed 12 and 13 too. I'll go back and pick those up. All right, so you should have this in the first version, or you should have this in my corrected version, in my edited version. Okay? Now let me go back to 12. 8, 9, 10, yeah, 12. Says the negative of 11 squared. Now the answer that you gave didn't have a negative. The answer you gave is if the problem is written this way. So you're just taking the negative of 11 times 11, which is a negative 21. It will only be a positive if it had said this. There's a whole world of difference between these two. This is negative 11. I'm going to get rid of that parentheses just because so it'll look like the other. Negative 11 times itself. And in that case, dang it, Dyer, come on. And in that case, oh, I did it again. In that case, you'd have a positive 121. So I need you to see the difference between this huge difference, very important difference. So if this was what you put, this is the correct answer. So 12, 13. 13 says this. You're simplifying 4 times x to the negative 5 power. Your answer, your wrong answer, was 4 over x to the negative 5. Well, the whole reason we make this into the reciprocal is so that we can get rid of the negative exponent. A negative exponent will never be a complete answer. Okay, so that's what you did wrong on 13. Okay, I did 17 already. 19, just 19 and 20 left. 19 says r to the 3rd, all to the 5th r over r to the 10th. R to the 3rd, all to the 5th, and then another r over r to the 10th. Okay, so just write out what these mean. Like r to the 3rd power, specifically I mean this. There's r to the 3rd power, right? But it says I need 5 of them, so I'm going to need, there's 2, 3, 4, 5. Now these are real easy to miss, Jeremiah, if you're just trying to, do a rule that you memorized. I don't want you to do that. I want you to, if you're struggling with these, write down what you have, and then just let stuff divide out. 10 r's here. 1, 2. There's 10 r's. Okay. Those 3 r's are going to divide out. These 3 r's divide out. These 3 divide out, and then one more. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm literally left with 5 r's. And I think you had r square. I'm trying to remember. I have this on my computer on another screen. Alrighty. Then 20. Negative 36. x to the 0 power, y to the negative 3 power. I think I'm just not quite awake yet. Y to the negative 3 power, z squared. Divided by 12, x to the negative 5 power, y to the 4th power z. Alrighty. So let's simplify a bunch of stuff first. Negative 36 divided by 12 is a whole number negative 3. Anything to the 0 power is a 1. These y's to the negative 3 power, they're in the wrong place. They need to go down here. It's a reciprocal. These z's are fine. I already dealt with that 12. These x's to the negative 5 power mean they really belong up into the numerator. These y's are fine because of the positive exponent. Okay, so now I'm going to simplify some more. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. I have z squared here and z here. That leaves me with a z, but these x's are going to come first. So I have 2 z's here, 1 z here, and that means this, Jeremiah. 2 z's, 1 more z. Those z's divide out and leave me with a z. And then you have 7 y's on the bottom. Alrighty. Okay, so go back and look at your work and compare your answers. I hope this helps. Thank you for continuing to ask me about this. This is great. I'm really proud of what you're doing. Really, really proud of how you're hanging in. All right, my dear. See you later on in class.